Sebastian was a lover I had ensnared through deceit. He lived in a world of silence, unable to hear. My darkest indulgence in those days was to pluck the hearing aids from his ears amidst the tangled sheets of our intimacy, whispering obscenities and filthy confessions against his skin that he could never perceive. That twisted game lasted until the day I unmasked the truth. He was not merely a silent, handsome man, but the heir to the colossal H family dynasty. Our severance was ugly. Sebastian's eyes were rimmed with crimson rage as he commanded me to leave. And I did. I fled, not daring to return to Beijing until 3 years later, when news of his engagement finally reached me. When we met again, Sebastian's expression was as glacial and unreadable as a frozen lake. He turned, trapping my wrists with a belt, and asked, running again, "Where do you think you're going this time?" "To my fiancé," I lied, lowering my head and pretending to adjust the settings on my camera. My palms were already slick with sweat. I hadn't expected to run into Sebastian this quickly. "President H, do not let Audrey's youth deceive you," Chief Editor Harrison said, patting my shoulder with a teasing, professional smile. "She has been sweeping up international photography awards for years. I spent a fortune snatching her from Heir. I guarantee you won't regret choosing us for your first cover shoot." Sebastian's gaze swept over me, a calm, indifferent tide. "Is that so? Then I shall trouble Miss Audrey." Polite, distant, nothing more. I lowered my voice, forcing a deeper resonance to mask the girl I used to be. "Of course, President." Sebastian nodded, offering not a single additional glance. My eyelids fluttered, and my hands trembled beneath the equipment. He didn't recognize me. It made sense. I had changed my surname, and a mask concealed half my face. By appearance alone, no one would connect the quiet, restrained Audrey standing before him with the bright, reckless Jessica I used to be. Throughout the shoot, Sebastian cooperated flawlessly. One subtle cue from me, and he would instantly shift into the perfect angle. Behind me, the staff whispered incessantly, "The president's body is insane. I'm literally salivating." No wonder Audrey was poached at such a high price. Her understanding of anatomy is terrifyingly good. Even from the monitor, you can feel the tension bursting from beneath his shirt. My mind drifted. In my memory, the young man was flushed pink from his neck to his ears, completely naked. I had drawn him countless times, yet he remained embarrassingly shy. Well, only at the beginning. Because every single sketching session inevitably migrated elsewhere, the bedroom, the sofa, the bathtub, against the floor-to-ceiling windows. By the end, I was always more exhausted than if I had sketched 10 life-drawing models. I remembered kicking him in frustration once. "Sebastian, you're doing it again. I'm never drawing you again. I'm finding a new model, one with an 8-pack. Sebastian had gripped my ankle without a word. After a long, heavy moment, he leaned down and kissed the corner of my lips. "Jess, I'm sorry." I had frozen. Was he admitting his mistake? Was he about to change? The next second, Sebastian removed his hearing aids and reached for the boxes of condoms, different flavors. I couldn't get out of bed for an entire week. Apologize? Sure, how polite of him. But eventually, we still broke up. That night, we tore each other apart. Sebastian's eyes were bloodshot, his voice icy shards of glass. "Jessica, I'll say this one last time, I don't do second chances." I had lowered my head and murmured a quiet, "Okay." He clenched his jaw, scoffing. "Fine, get out, don't ever show up in front of me again. Otherwise, I'll kill you." During a break in the shoot, I slipped away to retrieve a forgotten portrait lens from the equipment room. A shadow fell over me. That familiar, woody scent of cedar and rain curled into my nose. I stiffened, forcing myself to turn calmly. "Something wrong, President." Sebastian lowered his gaze to me. It was exactly the same stare as back then. My breath caught in my throat. My fingernails dug into my palm. "Don't panic. Don't falter." "Nothing," he said lightly, "just wandering." His dark eyes glimmered, his lips curving faintly. "But Miss Audrey, what are you so nervous about?" I covered my trembling right hand. "The camera is heavy. My hands shake after holding it too long." "Is that so?" I bowed my head. "If there's nothing else, President, I'll return to the set." I didn't wait for his response and walked away quickly. "Miss Audrey," Sebastian called after me, "if someone who once betrayed you appeared before you again, what would you do?" I paused. Sebastian and I had ended badly, but it wasn't betrayal. And knowing Sebastian, if he had recognized me, he would have exposed me on the spot, not acted cold and indifferent like this. I studied my breathing, turning with a practiced, professional smile. "President, I don't know what happened between you and that person, but I believe people should look forward. There's no need to cling to insignificant details of the past." "Insignificant," Sebastian chuckled darkly. "You're generous, Miss Audrey, but what if I insist on holding on?" "That's your personal matter, President. As a photographer, I'm afraid I can't be of much help." Sebastian stared at me, silent. My facade felt paper-thin, as if he could tear through it at any moment. A long beat passed. "True," Sebastian finally said, smiling coldly. "Just a photographer." The shoot wrapped an hour earlier than scheduled. As soon as Sebastian left, I began packing up. Lily rushed over, grabbed my arm, and dragged me toward the door. "Audrey, hurry, something huge happened." "What happened?" My words cut off abruptly. Outside the studio, the platform was carpeted in roses, with candles spelling out my name in the center. It was painfully tacky. I had rejected Oliver 3 times, yet he still refused to give up. Now, he had prepared a full-blown public humiliation. No one knew that under my mask, my face was already breaking out terribly. I was allergic to pollen. Thank God for the mask. I turned to walk away, but Oliver blocked me, cradling a massive bouquet. "Audrey, I really, really like you. I'll treat you well. Please say yes." "Okay." For a moment, I froze because I had once said those exact words to Sebastian. I had been completely, shamelessly attracted to him at first sight. Out of everyone I had ever met, only Sebastian fit every corner of my heart, a bar model. Yet he looked cold, aloof, untouchable. With those hearing aids, he seemed even more fragile and distant. Later, I learned the bar belonged to the H family. By then, I was already obsessed. I used every trick, clinginess, deception, shameless persistence, and eventually managed to get him into my bed. That night, I whispered countless sweet nothings into Sebastian's ear. "Sebastian, I really, really like you. Sebastian, I'll treat you so, so well. Sebastian, will you be with me?" Sebastian had lifted his head from my neck, dark eyes pinning me in place. "You really like me." I didn't have time to decipher the emotions swirling in his gaze. "Yes, really." His voice was hoarse. "Then promise me you'll only ever like me for the rest of your life." Back then, I didn't think twice about the words "rest of your life." I tilted my head up, kissed him, and said, "Okay, only you." And only after we got together did I learn Sebastian's cold abstinence was all an act. He possessed more desire than anyone. I loved removing his hearing aids during sex, whispering filth into his ear, shouting freely. He couldn't hear a thing, yet his restraint only made him look hungrier. I had a temper, I was spoiled. Sebastian indulged everything, soothed everything, endured everything. He made me believe we really could last a lifetime, until one day I accidentally saw a photo of Sebastian with his father. That summer afternoon, Sebastian's fingers slid gently through my hair as the warm hum of the blow dryer filled my ears. And just like that, I learned that the H in Sebastian was that H, the H family. My heart plummeted straight into an ice pit. The crowd's shouting dragged me back to reality. At some point, Oliver had already dropped to one knee. Say yes, say yes, say yes. More and more people gathered. More voices. More phones lifted to record my humiliation. My second-hand embarrassment was about to explode. I took a deep breath, forcing my temper down. Oliver, eyes. A hand clamped harshly around my wrist. Long fingers, cold bones, squeezing until it hurt. I looked up, and our gazes collided. Those narrow, ink-dark eyes were a net, threatening to swallow me whole. Sebastian's voice was frigid. Jessica, home. What? Afraid I'll drug you? An entire table of food awaited us. Every dish was drowned in chili peppers. I was the one who loved spicy food. Sebastian always ate mild. I froze, unable to understand what he was trying to do. And the apartment? The one we once lived in together. Sebastian had bought it. I stood up quickly. Thank you, President, for helping me out today. It's getting late. I'll be leaving now. Sebastian lifted his eyes, a mocking smile tugging at his lips. You call me President now. Jessica, you're really drawing a clean line. Since you're back, why not catch up? I lowered my gaze. There's nothing left for us to talk about. Nothing? His jaw tightened, his voice dripping with ridicule. Right. After all, even if I died in front of you, you probably wouldn't blink. He stared at me, face cold as always, but a vein throbbed angrily at his neck. I looked at him quietly. Sebastian, we're adults. There's no need to cling to the past. The past? Sebastian cut me off, his voice turning vicious. To you, I'm just a past. Jessica, you never loved me, did you? If you didn't love me, why did you bother provoking me in the first place? He grabbed my wrist again, eyes dark. I see. Jessica, I warned you. If I ever saw you again, I'd kill you. You won't, Sebastian. I met his eyes. I know you. Oh no, what? That I'm obedient. That I listened to you. That I was so understanding. He laughed coldly. It was all an act, Jessica, all of it, just to please you. Ruthless, selfish, vindictive, that's the real me. I swallowed hard. Sebastian, I shouldn't have shown up again and disrupted your life. I'll resign tomorrow. After that, Jessica? Sebastian's expression darkened, his teeth grinding. Sometimes I really want to cut you open and see if you even have a heart. His grip tightened. The distance between us closed, his breath spilling warmly against my skin. Desire flickered in his eyes, sharp and consuming. I struggled hard. Sebastian let go of me. Everything felt like a bow drawn to its limit, and then suddenly released. Sebastian's pupils contracted. He shoved me away, chest heaving with mixed emotions. After a long moment, he curved his lips into a cold, unreadable smile. Good, well done, Jessica. He slammed the door as he left, locking me inside the apartment. Only then did I realize my phone was still in his car. Hours passed, 3:00 a.m. Still no sign of Sebastian. In the wardrobe, a neat row of brand-new women's nightgowns hung in a line. Thin, sexy, nothing like my taste. They were meant for Sebastian's fiancée. He was getting engaged. The H family had countless properties. Why bring her here? A sudden bitterness surged through my chest. I slammed the wardrobe shut and went to wash my face. In the mirror, I noticed faint red marks spreading across my neck and collarbone. Then it hit me. Oliver's bouquet. Not only did he embarrass me, he made me allergic too. The bedroom door swung open. Sebastian staggered in. The overpowering scent of alcohol flooded the room. I wrinkled my nose. Why did you drink so much? Sebastian's voice was low and rough. Break up with him. I'll pretend everything between you two never existed. My mind blanked. What do you mean? His eyes were tinged red. What? Can't part with him? He asked with a faint, humorless laugh. I dried my hands. Sebastian, you're drunk. Sebastian stared at me. Then, in the next moment, he yanked me into his arms, tilted his head, and sank his teeth into my neck. A sting blossomed into a shiver. His bite turned harsher. "Jessica, if you dare provoke me, then why the hell won't you finish what you started? Why is there someone else?" I immediately understood and blurted out, panicked. "Sebastian, I didn't sleep with anyone." I pushed him back. "Look carefully, it's not a hickey, it's an allergy. Pollen allergy." His cold fingers traced my neck inch by inch. After a long silence, Sebastian asked, "Then, what about me? Do you want me?" I froze. Before I could react, Sebastian unbuckled his belt and bound my wrists in one fluid motion. The world tilted violently, my back colliding with the cold porcelain of the bathtub. I pushed myself up, my breath hitching in my throat. "Audrey, get a grip. You are getting engaged to someone else." He turned on the tap. Warm water cascaded over my legs, soaking the fabric of my clothes instantly. "Right," he looked down at me, his voice deep and deliberate, resonating against the tiled walls. "So, will you accept my proposal?" He paused, his gaze darkening. "My fiancé." I stared at him, water dripping from my lashes. "The engagement rumor, you released it. How else would I get you to come back?" He reached up and removed his hearing aids, setting them deliberately on the shelf. "Audrey, I told you." He stepped into the tub, the water rising as he straddled my waist, leaning down until his face was inches from mine. "If I ever saw you again, I would kill you." My mind buzzed with static. With Sebastian's capabilities, I knew he wasn't joking. I raised a trembling hand, pressing it against his chest to create space. "Sebastian, can we please go somewhere else and talk properly?" Then I froze. He had taken his hearing aids out. He couldn't hear me. The next moment, he pinned my bound wrists above my head and bent to my ear. "As long as you can promise you won't pass out midway, I'll talk." I stiffened, struck by a realization sharp as lightning. You can hear me." Click. The light went out. Darkness surged in with the rising hot steam, amplifying every sensation: the heat of the water, the weight of his body, the ragged sound of our breathing. Sebastian chuckled softly, a vibration I felt against my skin. I never said I was completely deaf. Without the aids, it is harder to hear, certainly. But someone was always too loud and far too shameless. His voice curled through the darkness, dangerous, seductive, encompassing. My face went up in flames. All those filthy things I had whispered before thinking he was oblivious. He had heard every single syllable. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Cornered, I could only gamble. I softened my voice, widening my eyes in the dark, and whimpered pitifully. "Sebastian, my wrists hurt. Please let go of me." "Okay." Sebastian froze for a second, and the iron strength in his grip loosened instinctively. That trick never failed. I seized the moment and kicked hard toward him, aiming to knock him off balance. But Sebastian caught my leg midair, as if he had expected it. His fingertips brushed teasingly across the arch of my foot, sending sparks up my calf. "Baby, you really should stop kicking people. This time, I am not letting you run." The world tilted again. In an instant, our positions flipped. Water splashed violently against my waist, heat and force crashing over me like a tidal wave. Sebastian pressed my hips down, his palm firm and unyielding against the porcelain. "Audrey," he growled in my ear, "say my name." I bit my lip and turned away, refusing to give him the satisfaction. Sebastian didn't get angry. He suddenly sat upright, the jolt tearing a sharp cry from my throat. Tears welled instantly. "Sebastian, you absolute bastard." His body tightened against mine. He leaned close, his voice a ghost against the shell of my ear. "Baby, you are beautiful when you cry." He was using my old, dirty lines against me. Waves of sensation surged. Sebastian didn't give me a single breath of relief. I clung desperately to his back, my lungs burning, bright flashes exploding in my mind again and again. Every moment teetered at the edge of oblivion. Sebastian was still speaking, murmuring things into my skin, but I could barely hear anything anymore. My bones melted, my vision blurred into nothingness. "So many years," he murmured, lifting me from the cooling water with obvious satisfaction. "And you still haven't improved at all. Hold on tight. If you fall, I am not catching you." "You're leaving already." The bathroom door opened. The scent of shower gel mixed with steam drifted out into the cooler air of the apartment. Sebastian leaned against the doorway, water trailing from his wet hair, down his chest, along the defined muscles of his waist, and disappearing beneath the sharp V-line of his hips. My face went scarlet. I wasn't leaving, just going to the bathroom. To the bathroom, out in the living room. Sebastian strode over and scooped me up effortlessly. I was wearing his oversized hoodie, the hem barely covering my thighs. I squirmed, embarrassed, instinctively trying to escape. As if reading my mind, Sebastian pinned my legs still. "Don't move, unless you want another round." I froze like a corpse. "Breakfast." I blinked, confused. He could still make breakfast after all that. "What? Not eating. Want me to feed you?" I shook my head wildly and grabbed a sandwich, stuffing it into my mouth to avoid answering. Silence lingered between us, heavy with unspoken words. After a while, Sebastian wiped his hands slowly with a napkin and asked, "When are you free?" I blinked. "For what?" "To get our marriage license and hold the wedding. You can choose the dress first." "Next week," I choked violently on a piece of crust. "Wait, marriage license, wedding." Sebastian gave me a cool, sideways glance. "What? Regretting it now?" I exploded. "Regret what? I never agreed. How can I regret something I didn't agree to?" Instead of arguing, Sebastian calmly took out his phone and pressed play. A recording. It only took a few seconds for my face to burn with humiliation. Stop that." I lunged for the phone, missing it completely and almost tripping off the chair. I was saved only because Sebastian moved fast, steadying me. That doesn't count. You can't take things said in that situation seriously." "Really?" Sebastian traced my wrist bone with his thumb, his eyes lifting to lock onto mine. "But you said you loved me. I took that very seriously." I froze, my voice cracking. "Sebastian, I—" A voice interrupted from the entryway behind us. "Why are there women's shoes here? Sebastian, you little—" Luke stared at me, then frowned, squinting. "No, something is off. Sebastian, don't tell me you missed her so much you brought home a lookalike." Luke, Sebastian's best friend. I had met him before. Awkwardly, I waved. "No, it's me. I'm Audrey." Luke exploded. "Audrey, why the hell are you back? To ruin Sebastian again." "Luke," Sebastian warned, his voice dropping an octave. Luke stomped his foot, indignant. "You ghosted him, vanished. You damn near broke him. He finally became human again, and now you're back." "Luke," Sebastian cut him off sharply. "I'll change the door code." He glanced at me. "He just comes to crash here sometimes, the guest room." Luke gaped, betrayed. "Sebastian, are you kicking me out for her?" "Who else should I kick her out for you?" Luke sputtered. "Brothers are limbs, women are clothes, you know the saying." Sebastian nodded lightly. "Right, so you are jealous I have clothes and want me to run around naked." The porridge I was eating nearly came out of my nose. Since when could Sebastian say things like that? "Sebastian, I am cutting ties with you," Luke declared. Sebastian stood up, placing a firm hand on Luke's shoulder. Luke brightened immediately. "I knew you couldn't let go of your brother." Sebastian opened the front door and shoved him out. "Ties cut, bye." He locked the door from the inside. Ignore him." Luke thumped the door and cursed for several minutes before shouting, "Sebastian, you deserve all the suffering you get. And if I meddle again, I'm a dog." I quietly sipped my porridge. My eyes drifted to the medicine bottle I had accidentally knocked over earlier that morning. Hesitating, I finally asked, "Sebastian, these years, have you been doing badly?" Sebastian stiffened. His fingers tightened around his spoon until his knuckles turned white. "If I say I haven't, would you care?" My nails dug into my palm, crescent lines of pain blooming red. I didn't know how to answer. After a long silence, Sebastian whispered, "If not, then why bother asking?" I ran. I was terrified that if I stayed 2 more days, I would surrender everything again. So, I took a month-long photography job deep in the mountains. Winter nights fell early there. A little past 7, the mountains were already pitch black. I shouldn't have gone down the trail alone, but my assistant had been pulled away by villagers and never returned. With only a flashlight, I began descending the narrow, treacherous path. Footsteps rustled behind me. Cold crept up my spine. I gripped the flashlight tight and sped up. The next second, someone yanked the belt of my coat from behind. I screamed, spun around, and the beam lit up a face. The man who owned the house I was staying in. His dialect was thick, slurred with lust. "Been watching you for a long time. Finally got my chance." I swung my heavy camera and smashed it into his head. He gritted his teeth, spat on the ground, and cursed. "Feisty, huh? Let's see how tough you are in a minute." He tackled me to the ground. His heavy, greasy body pinned me, crushing the air from my lungs. Regret flooded me. Regret for coming alone. Regret for not telling Sebastian that I liked him. "You looking for death?" The man was suddenly yanked up by the collar and thrown violently aside, crashing into a tree hard enough to scatter roosting birds. And Sebastian appeared in front of me out of nowhere. His fists were streaked with blood. The man on the ground howled, but Sebastian didn't stop. He didn't even seem to hear him. Punch after punch, merciless, bone-cracking impacts. Sebastian's face was dark, veins bulging at his neck. He didn't look human. He looked like a wild, unrestrained beast finally let out of its cage. His eyes were empty, violent, and predatory. The man on the ground struggled less and less. Only then did I snap out of my shock and rush forward, grabbing Sebastian's arm. He shoved me away hard. I didn't have time to feel the pain. One more punch and that man would die. "Sebastian," I wrapped my arms around his waist from behind, burying my face in his back. "Stop, Sebastian, please." His fist froze midair. Slowly, Sebastian turned back to look at me. The brutality hadn't fully faded from his gaze. His chest rose and fell sharply. I was trembling, my eyes red, instinctively scooting back in fear. Only then did Sebastian seem to return to himself. He pulled me into his arms, patting my back again and again, his touch frantic. "Audrey, don't be scared. I'm here, I'm here." Later, in the safety of the cabin, I cleaned the bloody scrape along his knuckles. "What are you doing here?" I asked softly. "What am I doing here?" Sebastian gritted out, his jaw clenched. "Audrey, I should be asking you, why the hell did you run again? And you ran to a place like this. Are you out of your mind? Do you not realize how dangerous it is? And you came up the mountain alone? What are you, Wonder Woman? 1 against 10. He was furious enough to make me want to cry. "I will," I whispered. Sebastian frowned. "Will what?" "When you're not doing well, I'll feel bad." The fire in his eyes flickered, contained, but burning hot. He stared straight at me, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Audrey, what do you mean?" I lifted my head and met his gaze. "Sebastian, let's get back together, but not publicly. No marriage, no meeting your parents. Is that okay?" Sebastian froze. No public relationship. No marriage, no parents. He laughed coldly, a harsh sound in the quiet room. "So, you want me to be your hidden lover? Your mistake in the shadows? Audrey, what makes you think I would agree to that?" I set down the cotton swab, a little embarrassed even as I said it. Well, then pretend I never asked. But Sebastian suddenly panicked. Audrey, like he had wrestled fiercely with himself and lost, he finally hissed, "Fine, hidden it is, I agree, but you are not allowed to have anyone else. I hate cheating more than anything." I knew he was still holding anger in his chest. He grew even more irritated when I didn't respond immediately. "Audrey, why aren't you saying anything? Don't tell me you already." His sentence was swallowed as I pressed my lips to his. Sebastian froze, then leaned back slightly, lips pursed, eyes uncertain. "What was that for? You aren't seriously trying to turn me into your side piece, right?" "You are so noisy." I cupped his jaw and kissed him again, deeper this time. "There is no one else, I only like you." Even if the truth would eventually tear this fragile bubble apart, I still wanted to savor the dream while it lasted. "Sebastian, when the truth comes, will you regret everything? Why have you been shooting that man so often lately?" Fresh from the shower, still dripping with steam, Sebastian wrapped himself around me from behind and complained, resting his chin on my shoulder. Since we couldn't go public, Sebastian clung to me even more in private. My hands continued editing photos on the screen. Male model covers were selling better now, and I had deadlines. "Look at these abs," I mumbled to myself, zooming in. "This V-line. Once I add a bit of shadow here, it will be perfect." "Hey, what are you doing?" Sebastian reached over and closed my laptop with a sharp click. "I hate you staring at other men's abs." "What, do I not have them, or are theirs better?" I turned and kissed the corner of his lips. "Who is being a jealous little jar now? Let me put a lid on you." Sebastian snorted. "You think that's enough? Baby, this is literally my job, just bear with it." He ignored that completely. "Especially that Tom. Every time you shoot him, look at the way he stares into your camera. Shameless, zero male virtue." I burst out laughing. "That is called camera presence. Not everyone is like you, looking like you are about to stand up and swear loyalty to the party in the next second." The moment I said it, I regretted it. As expected, Sebastian's expression darkened. "So, you do think he's better than me?" I quickly pressed myself against him, closing the distance between our bodies. "How could I ever think that? I love watching you swear loyalty to the party. What is wrong with that? Serving the people, contributing to society, it is noble." I hooked my arms around his neck, my voice dropping to a whisper. "So do not be jealous, okay?" Sebastian remained stone-faced, a statue of stoic disapproval. Fine. It was time to utilize my ultimate weapon. I leaned in until my lips brushed the shell of his ear, my tones soft and sticky like honey. "Baby, jealousy really does not look pretty on you." Still no reaction. What was going on? Even this failed today. I was just about to pull back and try a different tactic when Sebastian's hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. He yanked me hard, and the world spun as I fell back onto the bed. Snap! The room plunged into pitch darkness. His voice came from above me, low, breathless, and edged with a dangerous desire. "Audrey, I want to see." We were so close that the sudden darkness seemed to magnify every sensation, the heat of his skin, the rhythm of his breathing. My nerves were a chaotic mess. I instantly understood what he meant, but panic fluttered in my chest. "But Sebastian, I have work tomorrow." Before I could finish the sentence, Sebastian's mouth clamped onto my neck, silencing my protests. What followed was wave after wave of sensation, a tempest that allowed for no rest until the first light of dawn crept through the curtains. And at the very end, Sebastian still found the strength to bite my ear gently and growl a final warning. "Stay away from that, Tom. I can tell he is trouble." "Sebastian, if one day you found out I lied to you, would you still want me? Would you break up with me?" Sebastian seemed to think seriously for a moment in the quiet of the morning. "As long as you do not cheat, anything else can be worked out." Anything else, really. I did not expect Sebastian to show up at the studio today of all days. He was now a major shareholder at the magazine, but he was usually too buried in corporate affairs to visit often. Tom had just handed me a milk tea when Sebastian's silhouette appeared at the studio door. I panicked and pushed the drink away. Thanks, but I am on a diet. Tom had personally requested me as his photographer. His covers always sold exceptionally well, and I could not refuse the commission, which was why I had lied to Sebastian this morning, claiming today's shoot was with a female model. Tom waved his hand in front of my face. "Teacher Audrey, what is wrong?" I snapped back to reality. "Nothing. Sorry, what did you say? It was noisy." Tom smiled, that camera-ready charm in full effect. I asked, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Yes." He did not look convinced. "But everyone says they have never seen him. Is he not in the industry?" "He is shy." "Teacher Audrey, Sorry, I cut him off politely but firmly. "I need to grab some equipment. Please get ready. We will shoot in 20 minutes. Leaving the studio floor, I headed toward the equipment room. As I passed the corner of the fire escape, a hand shot out from the shadows and yanked me inside. Sebastian wrapped his arms around me from behind, pinning me against the cold wall. "So you can come out now." I steadied myself, my heart hammering. "Sebastian, I need to apologize about something." "Apologize for what? That Tom likes you." I shook my head frantically. "I do not like him." "Audrey, you really give me no sense of security." Sebastian's hand slid up the column of my neck, his voice turning low and rough like sandpaper. "Let us go public." "Okay, wait, no, we agreed not to." Sebastian sighed, frustration radiating from him. "Audrey, what are you so afraid of?" "Sebastian, He did not let me finish. He suddenly lowered his head and kissed me, breathless, overwhelming, possessive. I tried to push him away, but I failed completely. It was a long while before he finally let me go. I gasped for air, glaring at him. "Do not kiss me out of nowhere while I am working." "Got it." Sebastian only smiled, a dark glint in his eyes. I checked the time and hurried to the equipment room, completely unaware of the cold, hostile look Sebastian threw toward the doorway. Or the milk teacup he crushed against the corner of the wall as he watched Tom. "Mom, I got back together with Sebastian." I spoke the words softly, as I pushed my mother's wheelchair slowly along the hospital garden path. Her voice was frail. "Did you tell him you are my daughter?" "I do not dare to." My mother did not ask again. We circled the garden, round and round, caught in the loop of our tragic history. My father passed away early, and my mother raised me alone. For many years, she had no one until my college years when an uncle suddenly appeared at our home. He was handsome, elegant, clearly someone with status and background. I was genuinely happy back then, happy that my mother had finally found someone to rely on. That was until the day I met Sebastian and saw the photo of him with his father. It turned out the boyfriend my mom had been talking about already had a wife and children. The mother I always thought of as perfect had been the other woman all along. And the tragedy did not end there. Because of her father's affair and her mother's threat on her own life, Sebastian's mother had confronted mine. In the ensuing chaos, my mother had thrown herself down the stairs, shattering her leg, doomed to a wheelchair forever. I was terrified that if Sebastian learned the truth, that I was the daughter of the woman who destroyed his family's peace, he would despise me. So back then, I broke up with him abruptly without a word of explanation. And during our reunion, I was greedy yet cowardly, afraid to peel open that truth. Every day, I held that burning secret against my palm. Every day, I walked on thin ice, sinking silently while fully awake. But dreams eventually end. A stack of photos slammed across my face. The table shook from the impact, while the well-maintained face of Sebastian's mother twisted into something hideous. Audrey, if you want to be with Sebastian, you will have to step over my dead body. Rage, threats, warnings. I bowed my head, saying nothing, enduring the storm until she leaned forward. Audrey, do not provoke me. Otherwise, I will make you end up worse than your mother. My head snapped up. What do you mean? She leaned close, pushing her wheelchair forward, whispering venom into my ear. That car accident back then, I meant to kill her outright. Who knew she would survive, though with all those organ failures, she does not have many years left, right? My rage shot up, blinding and white-hot. I shoved her. I shoved her hard. The wheelchair toppled with a violent crash. That was the moment Sebastian arrived. He froze in the doorway. Confusion, pain, turmoil, and the one thing I dreaded most, disgust, washed over his face. The fire I had been desperately smothering finally scorched through my palms. Sebastian and I cut contact completely after that. I lived by routine, working by day, spending all remaining hours in the hospital. The doctor said my mother did not have much time left. I had the recording of that conversation with Sebastian's mother. I thought about making her pay, exposing her crime, but what would that change? If Sebastian and I both lost our mothers, would that make anything better? One night, I returned home to pick up clothes. The hallway light was broken and had not been repaired yet. A dark figure sat crouched by my door. I tried to ignore it, fumbling for my keys to unlock the door. Sebastian reached out and grabbed the hem of my coat. Audrey, how did things become like this? His voice sounded as if he had not spoken properly in days. Why? Why are you her daughter? I crouched down and lifted his face. Stubble covered his jaw, exhaustion rimmed his eyes. He was a man completely undone. I wrapped my arms around him gently. Hot tears hit my shoulder, soaking through the fabric. After a long, long time, Sebastian whispered, I cannot watch my mother die. Audrey, let us break up. I patted his back slowly, one stroke after another, accepting the inevitable. All right, I agree. Sister, I brought you flowers. Karma ran toward me, handing me a bunch of wild blooms with a toothy grin, pulling funny faces. In the city, 12-year-olds could already speak simple English, but here, Karma could barely pronounce standard Mandarin. Education was scarce in these highlands. Schools were few. Most children helped their families herd livestock instead of attending class. 3 months ago, my mother passed away. I resigned from my job, carried her ashes, and wandered aimlessly until I reached this place. Life had suddenly lost its meaning. If the sky collapsed, I probably would not have even flinched. I tapped Karma's nose gently. Why are you not in class? She frowned. Teacher Sarah is sick. I took her hand. Come on, let us go see her. Sarah had a high fever. With limited resources on the snowy grassland, all she could do was take a little medicine and sweat it out. I poured her a glass of water. Sarah shook her head weakly. I cannot bear to leave. It is pointless for you to worry, Audrey. These kids are not your responsibility. 2 years ago, Sarah had come here as a volunteer teacher. She never planned on staying this long. Yet somehow, she ended up tethered to this frozen land. Only by going to school, she said, staring at the cracked ceiling, can they ever have the chance to leave the grasslands and see the world. I had thought she simply had not suffered enough yet. That once life got too hard, too bitter, she would naturally give up. People, after all, always put themselves first. I believed that until the earthquake hit. Sarah lost her life saving the trapped children. I watched those kids cry until they could not breathe. I joined in the disaster relief efforts, moving through the rubble like a ghost. It was exhausting. So exhausting that I hallucinated Sebastian standing nearby, watching quietly, but in a blink, he was gone. I did not leave. I took over Sarah's role. The children still called me Teacher Sarah sometimes, and I did not correct them. Reconstruction went well. Someone even anonymously funded the rebuilding of the school. A real school, not just a patched-up room. I buried my mother's ashes at the foot of the snow mountain. I think she would have liked it there, where the air was clean and the silence was heavy. And then one year became many. Some asked me, why bother? These kids are not your responsibility. Only by going to school, I said, twirling a wild flower in my hand, can they truly see the world beyond the grasslands. I watched the children grow, learning to read, learning to dream, realizing the world was vast, far vaster than their home. They wanted to leave someday, and I wanted them to leave too. 6 years later, early spring arrived, and the snow line finally retreated. I was in the newly built library with the children, sorting through stacks of donated books. Footsteps echoed at the entrance, distinct and heavy against the wooden floor. I turned. There stood Sebastian, framed by the wind and the light, quieter and steadier than in my memory. Time had etched lines onto his face, but it had also given him a profound stillness. He did not approach immediately. He simply watched me from a distance, as though making sure that I was truly doing well, that I was real. "Audrey," he asked softly, "am I too late?" My heart tightened, but for the first time in years, it did not hurt. I walked toward him. Not to run, not to beg, but with a calm that had taken years of snow and silence to find. "We have both gone far," I said, "and we have been apart for a long time, but would you be willing to meet me again?" As if for the first time. The storm that had raged in Sebastian's eyes for so long finally stilled. He nodded. Gentle, quiet, not to claim, not to possess, just to be there.